Hi everyone, in this video of Accelerated Chess Dragon, we're going to be looking at a game played between Alexander Alekhine and Akiba Rubinstein. This was played in the 1923 Carlsbad International Masters Tournament in Carlsbad, Czechoslovakia, and without further ado, let's look at this game. Alekhine starts off by playing the move d4, and we have d5 by Rubinstein. c4 and now e6. Knight f3, knight f6, and after knight c3 and bishop e7, bishop g5, knight b7, and after e3 we've reached the classical variation of the Queen's Gambit declined. Rubinstein castles and rook c1 by Alekhine, and he's just going to get normal development and just wait to see what Rubinstein will do. And Rubinstein plays c6. Now, with the c6 move, he's trying to first of all activate his queen, perhaps to this c7 square, but with c6 he's also trying to solidify his position and his grip towards the d5 pawn. Alekhine plays queen c2 and now a6. So a6 is preparing ideas like d takes c4, and after the bishop captures on c4, b5 followed by c5. And that's a very common idea in modern day chess. So a4, rook to e8, and bishop to d3. Normal development, dc4, bishop c4, and now we have knight d5. And the reason behind this knight d5 move is to try trading more pieces off. So bishop f4. It usually is said in the principles that if you have more space, then you do not want to trade more pieces off. Unfortunately for Alekhine, he has nowhere to move his bishop or he doesn't trade it. So Alekhine had to move his bishop back to f4. And now a trade on f4 and c5. So Rubinstein managed to get this c5 move in. And this is very good. Although there is one problem with the c5 move. If you'll notice that after Alekhine played the move e takes f4, he isolated his queen pawn on d4. So playing c5 is giving Alekhine the opportunity to get rid of his isolated queen pawn, which isn't the best idea, in my opinion. So dc5 was played, queen c7. Not capturing the pawn right away, but getting ready to capture either this pawn or, in cases, this f4 pawn. But either way, this would still help Alekhine structurally. So, Alekhine castles, and queen takes f4. Knight e4, and now knight c5, bishop c5, and bishop d3. Threatening the h7 pawn, and also it's threatening the c5 bishop. So b6, and now Alekhine has regained his pawn, king h8, and bishop e4, attacking the rook. The rook goes to a7, and now b4. Which is an interesting pawn sacrifice, but it comes with a very nice idea. Point of this is that if Rubinstein were to capture this b4 pawn, how would you punish Rubinstein in this position if you were playing Alekhine? Okay, so the move that Alekhine would play if Rubinstein had accepted this pawn on b4 is he would actually have just captured this bishop on c8. And the point of this is that if you capture the queen, then after rook takes c8 check, you'll notice that this bishop is stopping the king from going to this h7 square, meaning that there is only one legal move, and that's bishop to f8, but after rook takes f8 check, this is checkmate, and that's it. So you cannot take the pawn on b4, so instead, bishop to f8 by Rubinstein. He's not losing when he plays this, because after queen takes c8 now, rook takes c8, rook takes c8, you can just go for the move king g8. And after this move is played, there is absolutely no way that Alekhine can continue in his attack, and therefore he stands worse in this position. So you cannot grab the bishop anymore, so instead queen c6. Defending the bishop on e4, but also threatening the rook on e8. Rook d7, blocking the attack towards the rook on e8, and now g3. Attacking the queen and trying to make it go to an unfavorable square. It goes to b8, and this is a very passive square, but it's not all that bad. Knight g5 was played by Alekhine, and Alekhine has a very nice threat with this move. If Rubinstein does not acknowledge what's happening, and if he just plays a move like a5, for instance, then Alekhine is happy to just capture this pawn on f7 with check, because you cannot capture the knight back because you lose the rook. And if you play the king to g8, then after something like knight to g5, there are too many holes around Rubinstein's position, and it's so easy to take advantage of all of them. So instead of playing a5, we have the move rook e to d8. Doubling the rooks, but this allows a very nice tactical blow from Alekhine. Can you find out what it is? Okay, so the move is actually bishop g6, and this might be a bit confusing. Why would you just give up your bishop like that? The reason is actually because if you play this move f takes g6 as black, then white has queen to g2. And queen g2 is threatening this move queen h3 check, and with the queen infiltrating via this h7 square, it's hard for black to defend. Black also really has no pieces that can help him defend the light squares or even the h file. So black is quite vulnerable if he allows this. On the other hand, what happens if you just play this move bishop b7 to guard the queen from playing the move queen to g2? Well, then white has the move knight takes f7 check, and point being that if you move this king to g8, then white is free to just capture this pawn on e6 and he's easily winning. So what can black do? Well, he can try playing rook takes f7. Obviously now if you capture this rook as white, then you lose your queen. So white will play the move queen takes e6. Now black is unfortunately way too lost. If you play the rook anywhere, let's say to f6, then there's the move queen h3 check, and this is the killer. After king comes to g8, then there's queen h7 and checkmate. The point is that after all of this happening, there's no way to stop the queen from being transferred over to the h file, and in general, no way to stop the queen from coming to h7. That is why there's really no way to defend against this, and that's why queen e5 was played, which means that Rubinstein must give up the exchange. He has no other choice. So knight f7 check, rook f7, and now bishop f7. Queen f5 trying to get the f7 bishop, but now rook fd1. Rook d1, queen f7, and queen c8. Just an exchange of some pieces. King h7 and queen takes a6. Queen f3. And Rubinstein is trying his best to get as much counterplay, but this queen f3 move was the wrong way to go about it. So I encourage you to pause the video and find out how Alekhine just punished this move queen f3 instantly. Okay, so Alekhine played the move queen to d3 check, and this move just trades the queens off, and after that it's just a rook versus bishop endgame, where Alekhine actually has one extra pawn. A very brilliant victory for Alexander Alekhine. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, please let me know in the comment section, and stay tuned for more chess.